things, but I don't have checks for each of that in Mark's the only left one.
There you go.
They retarded.
Sign it out. Let me write that down, okay?
What's this is
Put it over here. That's yours, I'm just going to pass it over.
Hey, I'm not getting caught with that, without falling down.
Yeah, let me see your shoes. Oh, they're not.
On purpose,
I
I
have
have
some,
some.
I have some that are about 5 inches.
Where did you find one? One's his, one's his, but if you brought a pass on with you, then it's wrong. Unless you printed out his latest version, or late last night.
Oh, so the one that you said I picked up in Johnson, they're wrong.
Yes,
And,
so the one I got left on your desk is the good one.
oh, no, and that's this.
Okay, sorry about that. So Arnie, I don't know if you caught that or not, but half of it's super. I don't revise last night yet, and so. Such a big sucks. Right.
That was, changes, revision.
Yeah, sorry, too many of them.
Okay.
All right, good for now.
This, yeah, those are changes, there's the changes that we made, when she presented the report, and let's be revised. I'm sure I don't remember, I don't have my notes.
Okay, but we're not doing the best.
No, she just gave us that. Just do an update.
So. Oh, you didn't see
Yeah, I was actually on that night, she got the big, he's riding in front. Right, and you have to be very careful because one little push, gaps and take off. My husband drove the car and I saw the truck. She was taking videos, so I didn't know she had lost it.
Big, like, sure.
Like it, good job.
Good morning, Greg.
Nice shirt. See this, right side out. Nice.
Well, I don't know where the same thing everything. Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Good, good. Morning. How are you? Good.
Hello, Daryl. So where are you? We're not going to do the whole thing.
Yeah, he's myself.
Good morning,
Hey, give me a look, I'm over there.
No.
No. All right, good. I want to find around there. You mean, you have something there?
Huh? There was nothing, just for recording. Yeah. Gotta be out of here like 10:45.
That's big.
She gave you a revised, run it there. Or today, yeah, and that, all that. She sent it the other day, but she gave it to you now. No,
Are you?
they're right there, that's. Oh, no, I don't need that one because we're all finished with the budget.
Same job for today.
That is a lot better than how you.
Just an agenda. No, I didn't have it.
I wore yellow. I said, go this store because I wore a yellow. And he said, that's where that is. Yeah. He said, you would have told her the same thing.
Anybody else can see that?
But you liked it, well, you
And they had a date on my guess, how we did it, and they win.
No time, we're right number 7 and be number 2.
Well, that was good.
The week before we got 4-0.
Okay, soccer is big today, this weekend. Okay, no, yeah, and I could not believe that they could have lost 60. Oh my God, they need to. Huh? Yeah. Time they did that.
Okay,
But when I saw you.
thank you. Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the other guy, the. When like, I could not believe it. I didn't rush it, so like,
And you said,
no, they have to use her. And that's bad, golden state. But they got the broad. Yeah. That's okay. You got it. Oh, everybody's playing all over. You guys, they're all over.
Yeah.
Probably the best. Bessie. Bessie's playing today. International.
I don't know, once a year, the boss takes the whole office tour. She's a lady. Yeah.
I don't want that.
Okay, I'm going to, call this meeting to order to establish a quorum. The time is 9:06, so we're 6 minutes behind.
Madam Chair, Dr. Phyllis Martinez,
Here,
Madam Vice Chair, Luis Cortinos.
Present.
Secretary, Mark Dominguez,
President.
trustee Andrea Sandy. Here. Trustee Richard B. Hill,
Here.
trustee Rolando Medrano,
Here.
trustee Rosa Ortega.
Here.
thank you. Pledge of allegiance. Which of the ladies from finance has led us to the pledge of allegiance? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Give me who needs to read the announcement of meeting?
Good morning. Today is Tuesday, June 16th, 2026. This is a special session board of trustees meeting of the Union Community College Board of Trustees. Notice of this meeting was provided in accordance with the Union Community College Open Meetings Act resolution. The agenda was posted at least 72 hours in advance of today's meeting at the office of the president and on the Union Community College website at www.edu. Any person who requires any special accommodations to attend or participate will contact the Union Community College president at 505-454-1333 2,500 or 1-800-588-7232, extension 1000 for assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Sorry.
Next time you'll read the pledges back. I would like to ask for a motion to approve the agenda. Thank you. You realize we have 3 Rs here, Rolando, Rose will be a picture.
If you want the floor. Just like my email,
Madam Chair, Dr. Phyllis Martinez.
Yes.
Madam Vice Chair, Luis Portillo.
Luis.
Secretary, Mark Dominguez.
Yes.
Trustee Andrea Sati.
Yes.
Trustee Richard Miguel.
Yes.
Trustee Rolando Medrano.
Yes.
Trustee Rosalie Ortega.
Yes.
Okay, next item, FY 2027 budget. Dr. Shields, can you lead us in that?
Yes, ma'am. I most certainly can. I'm chairperson, associate trustees, President Linder, and associate colleagues. I'd like to take this opportunity to present fiscal year 27 budgetary changes stemming from April 28th through June 16, 2026. Madam Chairperson, I would like to read through the first couple of pages minus the recommended actions to give you a clear indication of what we're trying to propose at this time. Then, of course, we will take any questions to be able to clarify any questions that any of you might have. So if we could start right at the top at number 1 of fiscal year 27 operational budgets exhibits. We conducted a comprehensive review of personnel positions, supplies and expenses, travel budgets and operational procedures. Adjustments were made to both fiscal year 26 estimated actuals and fiscal year 27 proposed expenditures to ensure greater alignment with institutional priorities and available resources. Now, that was number A. On the number B, we fixed some errors in recording the beginning balance of fiscal year 26 to reflect the ending balance from the fiscal year 25 report of actuals. Below is an overall impact to the ending balance from exhibit 1 and 2. And so below that, you see where we have broken down to approve where it was April 28, 2026, the proposed for 6/16/2026, and of course the increased amounts. And if you flow to your right, you'll see what fiscal year 26 estimated actuals and fiscal year 27 budgets. Below exhibit 1, of course, is exhibit 2. If I can continue, at number C, we have revised the fiscal year 27 operational budget document due to corrections to the restricted FAR dated 6/15/2026. And of course, we can refer to page 2 and item 4C. Under D, we have provided in this packet a planned fund project list for fiscal year 27. If you turn to the next page. Starting up at number 2, fiscal year 27 operational budgets and exhibit 20 for our auxiliary enterprises. And I would like to make some note here, we have kept, the expenses and everything we have here for Highland. I want to make sure you understand that we have did some transfers of approximately $100,000 each for fiscal year 26 and 27. All right, starting at number two, the bookstore adjustment revenues and expenses to align with the new 2026 contract with First Aid Complete. We also removed revenues and expenses for campus housing, dining, and associated operational expenses. Now, we also refined revenues and expenses for New Mexico housing and dining. Under number D, we addressed the long-standing deficit in auxiliary by adding an additional one-time transfer of $100,000. That's what I was speaking about previously. For fiscal year 26 and 27, and before the staff removing to online bookstore and Spirit clothing store for fiscal year 27. Reducing auxiliary enterprises was one of the most significant requests by HED. So with that, previously, we were just transferring to $42,000 each year. Here, we increased that to $100,000 for fiscal year 26, as well as fiscal year 27. Going on number three, fiscal year 26 unrestricted bar, we corrected beginning fund balance, which consisted with fiscal year 25 report of actual ending balance. This adjustment increases fund balances. Moving on to New Mexico growth results of opportunity expenses. And then C, provide a better explanation on various variances between the fiscal year 26 original and estimated actual budgets as requested by HED. On the number four, fiscal year 26 restricted bar, we corrected beginning fund balance consists of fiscal year 25 report of actual and ending balances and provided explanation for those variances. And I will reference that at the end of my statement here and show you in the back what we're referencing there. Under number B, we advise New Mexico HED that the 242,000 NMGRO fund should be recorded as unrestricted rather than restricted, reducing revenue and expenses by 242,000 in the fiscal year 26 bar. Under number C, the reason for the June 15, 2026 revision, upon double checking the formulas, a missing formula was identified and needed to be corrected in fiscal year 26 estimates of actual and the restricted column. And the fiscal year 26 budget for the nursing expansion grant was inadvertently omitted and has now been included in both the operating budget and restricted bar documents.
I have a question.
Yes.
So this formula was found last night?
Yesterday, last night, yeah.
Yes.
So at this point, though, Dr. Montoya has reviewed everything.
Yeah, Dr. Montoya, I thought, there.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
So, yes, she's the one that found that, and it's really complicated, I will say, because the number, the 670,000 for the nursing expansion was in the document there, but you know, you're in Excel, which is 120 pages of Excel documents. You go down to the bottom and you've got to double check. And there's a place that'll show you variances, and so on our Excel document, there is a place at the bottom that will allow you to double check. And there were variances there, and so that was an exhibit we just hadn't looked at when we were going through everything last Friday. And so Loretta found that yesterday afternoon, so we apologize, we thought we had caught everything and then at least we caught it, so
Yeah,
I think that that's a good thing, so.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Now, on the very last page in the back, you take here. This here will give you your glossary of explanation of pretty much everything what we're trying to take, what has taken place and what we are making adjustment and changes. Particularly dealing with exhibit 2 renewals and replacements. So I would like to take this opportunity time to answer any questions that you might have, and if there's anything that I have not covered, President Linder, please jump in and please open up any questions.
Can I just thank you, Dr. Shields and Madam Chair, Dr. Martinez, Can I just say one thing, when you look at the last page? We did keep in the revenue that we got from the state board of finance. We kept that in our budget, we haven't removed that from our budget. But we did remove those operational expenses from auxiliary, so as you all know, the capital outlay committee did not approve our project for the student housing. We are still exploring all options, but at this moment, because we have a grant agreement from the state board of finance for that money. We are not removing that yet, and so whether we will expend that money this year or not, I'm not 100% sure. But at this moment, we kept that money in our budget. Now, you don't get an audit finding for any extra revenue that you might show. If you, there's not a harm in putting in revenue that you're expecting, and if you don't spend it. That's not gonna be an audit finding, right? So that was the sort of discussion that we had at length yesterday about whether we take that out or not, given the capital outlay.
Don't you
And
have to
so-
receive an official notification, have you?
of
I
what-
mean, verbal in the meeting or
No, I got official notification that they aren't moving forward with it at this time, but
but you're still exploring
we're
options.
still exploring options.
You
We
and
have a
trust
plan.
Navy Hill.
Yes, and we have a grant agreement from the state board of finance for that funding. And so we felt like that it didn't make sense to remove that money, but we did take out the operational expenses in auxiliary for the spring to have on campus housing. Now, if we get that approved, we can always fix that on a mid-year bar. We can adjust for those things going forward.
And of course, we kept those expenses, as the president has indicated, with Highland. So that, you know, it's not a problem in our current proposed budget. So,
So I do have, Highlands did send me a memorandum of agreement, I was in that in here, and then I do have an attorney looking at it. So that I haven't heard back from the attorney yet, but we are moving forward with that, and I'm working with an attorney on that memorandum.
But it only covers the summer, I mean, the fall or the winter, for the whole year. Any questions from, go ahead. Dr. Peter?
Dr. Shields and President Ender, everyone, last meeting you stated that you were not involved with, finance, and now it seems you're getting integrated, which is good, and that's part of it. I'd like to know how we had a discrepancy. $2 million and 1.9. I could see $200,000 or 2 million is a big number for me.
Can I explain that? Or do you want to try, do you want to explain that, Dr. Shields?
you go ahead and tell me,
Okay.
and I do have my reason, but I'm, you know.
So if you look at the, let me see if there's a good example. If you look at page 3, yes, if you look at page 3 of exhibit 1, just as an example. What you have is, on the left, you have what is your original approved budget, FY 26. What you have in the middle is an estimated actuals. And then on the right is what your proposed FY 27 budget is, right? And so your estimated actuals is what we are approving, that's like the bar that we do. What we think, when we did this in April, what we thought we would spend by the end of June. And in your budget, you have to definitely overestimate your estimated actuals, because if you underestimate your expenditures, and then you exceed your authority to expend that, then that's an audit finding. And so what we then do in September is that we actually report our report of actuals. So then we look and we say at the end of the year, what did we actually spend? That's our report of actuals. And so on our, so what the mistake was, is that we overestimated, but the mistake was, we did overestimate by 2 million. And so when we looked at our report of actuals, so what happened is when you take the beginning, you look at the ending balance of your, I don't know if this is the best one to do it, but if you look at maybe on exhibit 2, which is on the next page here, if you look at the ending balance on page 5, if you look at the ending balance in the middle column, that's 6178401. Does everybody see that?
Yes, fine.
On page 5, that number becomes at the bottom of the middle column where it says 6,178,401.
Yes, ma'am.
That number becomes the beginning balance at the top of the, at the top of your beginning balance for FY 27, right? How much did you have at the end? And so the mistake is that we bought the ending balance for the estimated actuals was used instead of the report of actuals.
It's only 4 million for.
And so, yes, and so we actually did only, so if you look at that on your page there, our estimated actuals, what we had originally approved was that we were gonna have an estimated actuals ending balance of 5 million. We actually had an ending balance of 7 million. So we didn't spend as much as we thought we were gonna do. So that's why it's so significant, and that's why it has such a huge difference. It was just an error that the wrong ending balance was used when they were creating those documents.
And I would like to say, that's part of the challenges when we don't have our audits completely done. And, you know, I take full responsibility as this part of the finance, but when you're working on multiple audits, as well as trying to fill out current budget situations, you sometimes will miss a number, because I'll be honest, you look at numbers sometimes so long that pretty soon they seem right, and so, this here is exactly the way the president has explained us what happened in this case here, but we caught it in time and we can make these adjustments here, and I think it'll be a fair representation moving forward.
Dr. Shields, I have never misrepresented a $10 bill for $100.
But my concern is that why was it, I mean, this happened this year, but then yet we did have an issue with our audit for the last 30 years or so. And it was fine last year.
No, it was just an error that the wrong number was used. They used the estimated actuals and instead of using the report of
I know, but
actuals.
I'm just saying, only because he commented that.
Last
Because
year.
ours is right.
Well, I think that there are just a lot of,
I'm just asking.
yeah, there are a lot of things that working on the audits, we've got people doing a lot of different work. And what we talked about, what Dr. Shields and I have talked about with Loretta is that we have to have the budget ready for review a lot earlier. And so that we can really look at those numbers and we can really double check. And so with the audit, and I think that's what Dr. Shields was referring to, is trying to do all the work of the audit, trying to do everything else that we're doing, is that we were getting this budget at the last minute, and it didn't allow us time to really double check everything and say, did we do it? Now, HED provides a really comprehensive checklist. And Sharice did attend the training on this in March that went over this checklist and everything. And that is, I was looking at that checklist over the weekend, and one of those things that was very, very clear that says, make sure that you're using this line, did you do this? And so that's the other thing is that we just need to make sure that the checklist that HED is giving us, which is very comprehensive, that we have to go through and you fill it out. It's something that you fill out. It wasn't required for this year to be turned in with the budget, but next year it will be required to be turned in with the budget. And so next year, this checklist that really is, it's a really, I brought a copy of it and we haven't been giving you that, but it's 120 pages. And there's a lot of places that you can easily make a mistake. And HED has put together a checklist to try to avoid doing that. And this year it was optional, whether we did it or not. And, but next year it will be required, which will mean that we really have to be in place and have everything set. And I think, you know, that we have to change the timeline such that we're starting this in the fall, that we're really looking at this timeline. And I think that's what Dr. Shields was referring to, is with his team working on the audits. It is.
And then the shortness of staff, you know, you're adding on to each one of us additional things that we need for us to check. And, you know, it is something that we should have picked up, but, there are a lot of things that we need to get done and within a certain period of time. And of course, with our staffing and the shortages, losing personnel, bringing on new personnel, getting them up to, snuff, as they say, and then, of course, we taking on trying to get contractors, and of course, you have to get them where they're already and accustomed to be able to support the college, at the level that you expect. So it sometimes gets a little complex. However, as the team is continuing to grow and get more experience, these type of situations should not happen, and I'm confident it will not. But we do have, and I know when I started, I don't believe it was any of us, but maybe one or two of us that had more than a year's worth of experience with the college. And so that there presents your college in a situation where unfortunately things can fall through the cracks.
So when you said about, the numbers all look the same, I noticed one section, it was $1 off.
So that is one of the things that when you have rounding, so when we put these numbers in, they actually have decimal places, right? And so there are rounding errors and
And that's what happened there.
and so, yes, so there was a $1 on the variance, right? And so this is one of the things that we discussed at president's meetings is, like, why is HED worrying about $1, right? Because it's a rounding error. But DFA, the Department of Finance and Administration, is kicking it back to HED and saying, you need to make sure that every number matches. And so, and the reason that they don't match is because of a rounding error. And so what we have to do is find those and just double check those. And we do have the ability to check those within the documents that we have. It's just that I think that when you have one person and looking at that and looking at all those numbers, it's easy to make mistakes. And Dr. Shields and Loretta and I and Sharice were looking at all these numbers. And, everybody sees something a little bit different. And that's why we just have to, that's why HED has developed these checklists. We need to use those checklists. We need to provide those guidances. We have to use it as a learning experience. And I think the biggest issue is related to that we were getting these documents, too late to really do as thorough a review.
And that was then, HED.
No, it's not HB's. No, I think we were late in getting that whole budget development, which I think working on the audit
That
has
was
worked
the
on that.
staff on site.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The other
It
thing.
would seem like there would be a software program that would go through the budget and give you the red flags.
Well, we do have that, it's just you gotta take the time and use those and look at it and do it, and I wanna say that I wanna, give a huge shout out to Dr. Montoya, because she really is a person that understands, but she's also got 30 years of looking at this, she's got 30 years of understanding this, looking at data, seeing where that is, and even she and I are looking at
To
that.
help, that's the good thing.
She and I are looking at things, and just even last night, we were just double checking numbers, we were just trying to double check numbers, and she was reading off numbers, and I'm like, no, you're reading off the wrong column, you're reading off the first column and not the last column, and so it's just, when you're looking at a lot of numbers, it's just hard. And so,
So two things attributed to budget being late. So one, we're saying that the paperwork too late, the other one, we're saying workforce. The workforce issue has been an issue for a long time, correct?
So apparently from what I heard.
Probably worse last year,
we had a lot of errors last year that had to be corrected.
but we weren't put on monitor.
Getting caught up, well, we were monitored, that's for sure.
Yeah, but not in the.
Not the corrected action.
That we're
The
saying now.
other thing is that HED has all new staff in their finance office as well. And so they, last year, there were a whole bunch of things that happened with them because they were brand new. And that is one of the things that they sent us, for example, they sent Sharice an email on June 26th. And said, you need to make all these corrections. And she did, she made those recommended corrections and she submitted that final budget of HED on June 30th, right? And it had that. And they marked it received, and then on July 3rd, HED sent us a approved budget. Okay, they sent us, this is your approved budget. And then they said, you need to fix these and fix these or whatever, and then Sharice, we looked at this communication. Sharice said, okay, I provided all that documentation on June 30th. And they said, okay, this is fine. But when we went back and looked, they never sent us, HED never sent us another corrected approved budget. And so HED has been looking at a budget that they sent us that didn't include our corrections that we had sent on June 30th, which they had requested. But they're brand new, and they're already in there. So it was very confusing when even over the last month and 6 weeks that Sharice has been working on it, because we're like, which budget document are you working on? And when we did paper trail and looked back at all those emails, and luckily I'm CC'd on those, is that it looked, it's actually Sharice had done all of those corrections. And then HED said, okay, use the budget, use your 630 budget, not use the budget we approved. And so, but just between those, when you're working on all those documents, and it's complicated, and when you're doing it all by email and you're trying to track it all, and trying to find it, I think it takes a lot of experience, and HED staff, I think, are very committed. I had a conversation yesterday with the director of finance. And she said, we're here to help you. We're here to help you. We want you guys to learn, and we do have to get more people that understand the process. And this is the 3rd year that I'm doing it, and I wasn't doing it, full time. I'm president, but I'm learning more every year. Just this morning, I was calling Loretta and saying, okay, where is that number? What did we do there? How did we get that? And then she's looking and saying, okay, where was that? What are we doing? It's just a learning process with a lot of things. Dr. Shields? Yes.
Madam Chair, if I may, I think that maybe we should set up, this is self-secondhand information. And sometimes either get CC or doesn't get CC, that maybe the finance team or even the board as a whole. And along with the finance team should have a meeting with HED so we can ask those questions and we can get a template or a rubric of what we want, so we can put forward, so we can better serve students. And not look at getting late information. I mean, I think the people we have on board work very hard. I think they try, their very best. Unfortunately, the last thing we want to do is handicap the institution, Madam Chair. And I think that through communication and the power of persuasion, I think we can do that. But going this route and this roundabout ways, it's not working. We're finding ourselves now in a secondary meeting for the budget. And I think that we can do better. I really think we can do better as a whole to understand what is expected of Linder and the finance team and what the board can do to support them. I don't know how you guys feel, but that's how I feel now.
I totally agree, Secretary Dominguez, with what you're saying. But I think when the board starts getting involved like that, you're getting involved in the day-to-day, and we can't have that.
I disagree,
I
but
don't,
that's fine.
I mean, it's just, we are, I mean, I think we need to. Yeah, they made a mistake, there's there, whatever, I agree with Dr. Shields that, they're understaffed, there's maybe some of the inexperienced people, this is an oversight, whatever. But when the board starts getting involved and stuff like that, you're getting involved in the day-to-day, and we need to watch ourselves and stuff like that, that's my opinion.
If I can, share with you, Trustee Dominguez,
Yes, sir.
I feel you are correct. And I think we will make improvements with this whole process going forward, because we have now learned from this.
Well,
You're
you're
taking- What's that now?
you'll be gone by the time we go through it again, but your time's been greatly appreciated here and your experience and your knowledge. I don't think we paid you for your time, I think we paid you for your experience, and that's greatly appreciated. People misunderstand that, misrepresent that, right? But I have to disagree with my colleague, Vice Chair Fields, because communicating and having a meeting of collective information is not getting involved or giving any directive. It's simply just being open-minded to the process. and that's what we're for, but we always disagreeing and that's fine. So I appreciate everything you've done for this institution to get us back on track. And it's not going without notice, so.
And I trust you, Vina.
Where's Sharice, by the way, today?
She's on me. I put that in my weekly report.
And I just wanna add to that, that I don't have a problem with that. I mean, it could be, say, within the finance group, or all of you guys, as the finance, being part of the finance, they could support it. And I do, and maybe HEB needs a representative for HEB to come and visit with finance, but I just think, you know, overall, I just feel like we'd be getting involved in.
I think the key is that word and our responsibility, fiduciary duty.
Right, but I'm just saying the finance, that would be great for the finance.
Vice Chair, I fully
So you guys know more about it because you know more into depth.
But I think the other board members would maybe like to know, maybe they don't, but I have to put that out there that collectively as a board, we can get educated.
But I'm also saying we have to be careful and overstep.
I totally agree with you, and I think this board has been nothing short of supporting this finance, this institution, this president. And I just wanna make it better, that's the reason why I'm here.
Trustee Hill?
Maybe can chair, I'm gonna group of Jill's. So I guess the question that I have is, so how many staff members are working on the audit and how many staff members are actually working our day-to-day operation? Making sure that all these numbers are in order.
Well, that depends on what day, what's happening, who's at work, who's not at work. I mean, you know, I can't give you a definitive of who our staffing is unfortunately incomplete to that degree.
So,
But what I'm saying is that there has to be some succession planning on our part. And in it, each one of my staff members, even right now, they have 2 or 3 responsibilities. I mean, jumping in and helping here, there, wherever is basically needed. So sometimes it winds up where you have one person that's clearly assigned to a responsibility. And we may not be able to get to all the numbers, 120 pages for 2 or 3 of us to all to be able to look, at very, very carefully. So I would say to answer your question, today, I can say I can have maybe 2 or 3 people that could focus on the numbers. But tomorrow, it may be only one person and maybe only half of their time for that day. So that's why having a complete staff is so very, very important, and being able to maintain that staff is so very, very important.
And that pretty much is out of everyone's hands. Not able to comply with that in most businesses. But my concern is their training for the crosswalk.
To answer that question, yes, there is, and I'm proud to say that my staff has been very, very committed, particularly the last 6 to 8 months, as we've grown together through all these different aspects. A lot of them are staying late, working to 7:30 in the evening, trying to get training, trying to get things caught up where we have shortages. And we also have team members that are working on the weekends. But this can only go so far. And so until we get ourselves fully staffed and then can be able to continue to have the experience that we believe is going to help us going forward, we should be okay. I also believe that in our finance committee meetings, that would be the appropriate place, time for us to go through in a lot more detail. Trustee Dominguez, to answer a lot of your questions that you think needs to be done. And then you can bring that forward to the board and explain, in concert of what came out of that meeting. So I think it can be a win-win.
However, in this instance, that's impossible because the budget has to be approved ASAP and finance meetings are not till next month, so. Another question forward, going forward, understood, yeah.
Sure, if I may. Dr. Shields, what's that refined revenues and expenses for 92 housing and ag? Did we book for some money to items already?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite
On
hear you.
page, what, page 7? 2, the back, on. Operating budget, exhibit 2019, 2C. Refine revenues and expenses turning into housing and time. Did we put forth some money already to that, or are we going to do that?
To see that's,
Page 2, and what you said. On page 2 of the memo.
okay, okay,
Or maybe Madam Chair.
I think. I can clarify that.
go ahead.
Clarify that, Dr. Shields, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair Martinez and Secretary Dominguez. So what we had originally budgeted on April 28th was to have, we had budgeted money for the fall. And we actually budgeted money for, that would account for Highlands housing or for Super 8 of what that would cost. And so what the budget that you approved on April 28th had a fall housing option. And then in the spring, the plan was to have the housing be with us, which included then also doing our dining services, having the extra staff that we needed to have actually housing on our campus.
You only got
And-
you approved 2 weeks ago, correct?
We don't have an agreement right now. So this is the proposed, this is the proposed budget. And so what we did is we took the rates, the average rate of what a double housing is at Highlands for either Bellevue or Connor. And we took the average cost, we don't know, a student may choose something else in terms of the dining plan. But what we budgeted for was for the students, and the difference is previously, those accounts were, students had contracts with Highlands themselves, and they were responsible for paying them. And so with the MOA that we're working on, it will go, the bill will come to Highlands, and we will be responsible for ensuring the students pay.
And the bill comes to us.
I mean, yeah, sorry, the bill will come to Luna. And then it will go on their student account. And so the difference is, this isn't something that we've done previously, right? So previously, the students did different. So that is what the MOA is talking about. And what we have to have in place is mechanisms that within our finance department and agreements to make sure that our students pay those balances, whether it's from financial aid, and that's something that we're working on with financial aid, that it would go on their student account. And then they will then, we will be responsible for collecting that. And so we don't have an approved agreement right now with Highlands, but that is the current plan. But even if even it turns out that I think we can work something out with Highlands, but if it turns out that we're doing hotel, we have a hotel, then we've accounted for those costs. So, but the refinement is what you previously approved, had half a semester. And then I had fall semester away and then on campus, and so that's what we meant by that.
Okay, and then last one, on these, Dr. Shields, on item 4, FY 26 restricted bar. President Mender stated that she got a 120-page report. And you were advised by NMHED for the 242,000 on the road funds. And it should be reported rather than restricted. Was that a verbal or written document that they sent you or the state letter?
I believe that was a written document.
That was a single page document?
No, so NF growth funds are new, right? And so last year we reported those as restricted. We put those in as restricted. Because and so the question is, because it has a special targeted fund for using it. But when we talk to HED and we do have email communications from them, we talked to them, they recommended that we deal with that as unrestricted because there's not a grant agreement. It is an appropriation that we get of that amount, and it's not a specific grant agreement, so it's not a grant. So their recommendation was that we move that from restricted to unrestricted. Now, we looked at several other schools and there were other schools that had reported them as also restricted. And so because this is new funding, every school is doing it a little bit differently. And so this is just something that we worked with HED last week and we got email communication. Loretta had a meeting with them on Friday morning. And then they sent us a follow-up and said, for these reasons, we think that you should, they gave us a whole explanation of why they think that these should be unrestricted. So we moved them from restricted to unrestricted, but we have email documentation to that effect.
And we probably should foresee some coming changes from HED as the newly employees of HED are coming forward, they're getting their group together, they'll probably go for some more requirements for doing college, do you maybe think that will happen?
So, my conversations and Dr. Shields and Dr. Montoya's, our conversations with HED is they're trying to always refine the process. They've given us documents that they want us, they gave those documents in March. One of the reasons that they didn't require those checklists to be completed this year was that they presented them on, when was the tech summit, March 15th, March 17th, March 17th? And so it was too late for them to require them for this year. But they will be requiring all those checklist documents for that. And what we need to do is double check and have the VP of Finance double checking all those documents and that we are, I've looked at those documents, I've been going over those documents and I'm gonna say that the added hours required to do those documents, that double checking is something we need to do, and we have to build that into our process. We do need to do it for sure going forward.
Absolutely.
So on the auxiliary enterprises, that would be on page 4 under auxiliary. When you went from 73 to 384 to 841,
About on which page?
page 4.
Yes, so the reason that that amount is so high for FY 27 is to account for housing.
Yes,
So that's the amount that technically, however we collected would go to Highlands for the housing.
So if you look at page 3 at revenues, under auxiliary, then what we're expecting is right is
No,
8019, 520,
yes.
right? But there's some transfers in and out that are also looking at. We're doing-
So that's about 20,000 one way or the other.
Yes.
Thank you.
One more question, Madam Chair, if I may. Dr. Shields, where are we on our gas reserve for HLC requirements?
we're still right around 15 to 18%, which we're way ahead, you know.
Which translated into cash, how much is that?
We're looking at cash right around 5 mil.
Thank you, Dr. Shields.
But that's,
So can I also,
that's in the regular budget already.
Yes.
We don't separate it like we do in the public schools.
No, not at this time. No.
so one of the calculations that on the checklist that HED said is that they want us to look at our ending balances and then look at our expenditures, just like what you were talking about there. So Loretta and I calculated that yesterday, and they say you have to be at least 3% of state PD, right? And we were at 29%.
And HLC,
HLC, there's a little bit different, they do a CFI number, but our CFI is a lot higher than is required.
And I see the board had agreed to try and stay at 5%, because the year before you came by. If I don't know, correct me if I.
but I think we need to raise it to 10.
Well, if you have too much cash reserves, then they're not gonna get any money,
Right.
we just
No,
stay
Yeah.
minimal, but 3% is the bare minimum, we should have, correct, Dr. Shields?
Absolutely, 3%, it's normally anywhere, as I did a survey of, some of the other institutions between 5 and 10%. It just really depends on your investment planning, and that's the other thing that we have to take in consideration, you know. How much you're gonna have invested.
Representative Yellow first.
No.
Oh, sorry. The other thing, no, I didn't know if you had, I don't wanna. The other thing we need to keep looking at, Madam Chair, that's gonna be coming into play, I believe that we're gonna have to put money forward, is the 5-year plan's already coming to an end, but for the master plan. Have we allocated any money for that? And
We did not allocate it in this year, and so we do,
doesn't it end?
in 2027, we need to. That is something that we're looking at, and so that is an expense that we have to look at,
So
so.
we could pull in reserves for that, is that right, for? I have no more further question for you there, Dr. Shields, thank you for you.
What funds was that, what funds were that we just talked about?
He said we could pull it out.
Tax reserve.
That's on the tax reserve.
By HLC standards, we need to have 3%, but the board had approved before you guys came on and before President Linder was president, I think this board had agreed that we were gonna try to stay afloat with 5%. Instead of higher ratio to, because we had some bad air conditioners and a lot of bad mechanical stuff that we were wanting to have the monetary for to fix those if need be. And Dr. Seals has stated that we're well above that. And the question I was asking her is our master plan is about to expire. Part of the institution's being requirement is we have to have a 5-year master plan. It's a audit, an evaluation of every building and square footage and all that good stuff there. And it's part of this meeting, I'm gonna say it's not part of this meeting, it is because that money has to be allocated, we need to look at that, but we have to pay for that. So I mean, I thought it was already coming up and President it's coming up in about 6 months. That's the reason, make sure we have money for it.
You have anything you want to continue?
Well, I just wanted to add on that, we have had this discussion and, you know, we plan to have contingency funds set aside, be able to address all that. It's just a matter of, you know, us making sure that we need the timetable so that we can make sure that we can identify and be able to go ahead and make that update or changes as approved by this governing body.
Okay, so anyone have further questions? I have a bunch. Go ahead, sir.
This, the person that I'm sure that. Shields is so again, I'm assuming that you're needing, thank you very much for all your help, your community. You know, staff. Well, I guess the question I have. Now is, who's gonna take this thing?
And that was one of my first questions, is what the plan is for Dr. Shields' departure. You want to answer that, or do you want?
So we are actively, we had a candidate on campus yesterday. And so we have that plan. And so I'm still actively working on trying to fill that position. Dr. Shields is on contract till the end of the month. And,
No smart.
and so his last day on campus is on June 18th. But he is on, and he has agreed that he will provide support even beyond that date if we have questions. We wanted to have a little bit more timeline. And so, I don't wanna jinx anything on that, but if the current plan is that Loretta has agreed that she's not gonna take over Dr. Shields' position, but she will continue to assist us, especially with the budget.
Yeah.
And with workday issues, she's assisting with some different things right now, just if we have that, and so Dr. Matoya has agreed that she will serve as that assisting role. She does not wanna be
She doesn't want to go back to work.
for sure, no, but she has agreed to continue to help us. And if I am not successful in filling that position, then I will be assuming those responsibilities on the church.
Thank you. So any other questions besides mine? Yeah.
Right now I have one, Mr. Governor.
Go ahead.
So we only have one candidate?
We've interviewed several candidates and I don't know if there's another one in the pipeline. There was one other that I looked at, but we didn't have somebody on campus yesterday. And we've had 2 other candidates come on campus and I've chosen not to after the position to those.
And they're municipal people.
They
Not
are,
really local.
this person is, okay, good. This person is,
So one of the questions I have refers to page 4 and the transfers. We had so many red lines on the budget this last year. Are we figuring out a plan so that those transfers will be kept down to a minimum?
so
I know they were, over now, I don't know.
So the transfers that are in and out of what we're talking about here are transfers that, for some of these transfers with instruction, these are transfers through different amounts that we allocate. Like there are in the budget, there are like internal services like Jeff Gamlin's group. Jeff Gamlin's group is a supportive group. We transfer money, his budget gets transferred and spread across 4 different exhibits. So that's sort of what we're looking at this level. What you're worried about is that when you're looking at a cost center level, right, the cost is, why did we have all those red numbers? And so that is something that Sharice has actually talked about fixing going forward. And I have talked to Dr. Patoya, and she is willing to work with our team to make sure that the way that we get the budget set up, we've made a lot of notes. Sharice had made a lot of notes, Dr. Shields had made a lot of notes. And that is our plan, is going forward.
And the majority, I think, we're having to do with benefits.
Yes.
So that is, the complicated thing is that within each exhibit. So for example, within instruction in general, what we budgeted overall is 40% benefits. But when you have small departments, we do know that people, when you only have 2 or 3 people, somebody may have benefit package that is actually gonna be more than 40%. Because we pay 80% and the employee pays 20%. If an employee chooses that higher package, then that in that individual cost center, but in the overall exhibit, we budgeted 40%, which we know covers overall. But when you're looking at the individual cost center, which gets rolled up in this larger budget, then there were some discrepancies with that. And then there was an error. So the reason we couldn't correct the auxiliary during the year is you can't transfer money only at the end of the year, or if you do a mid-year bar, can you transfer money from one exhibit to another exhibit? And so last year there was an error in not putting compensation benefits in the auxiliary for the bookstore manager. And so there was nothing we could do about that. You couldn't fix that until late. So we are making note of that. I think that we've made a good note of that, and I'm not gonna say that there won't be any errors, but the ones that at least we found, we think we're gonna correct.
Okay, on page 9, the expenditures, and it says student accounts were billed for an NMAC pricing and now incurs the remaining cost.
Yes,
Can you explain that?
yes. And so you recall that last fall when we had put the students in Super 8, we actually charged the students what they would have paid at Highlands. But then we paid extra at Super 8, so we paid $75 a night at Super 8 for a double. And it would have been something like $40, so that difference, which I think was about $15,000. Was money that we actually just ended up using that money, but we did not feel like we could charge the students for that.
Okay, and the other, is it pertaining to that?
It is what it is.
Go ahead,
No.
Because
Finish that.
I have another topic, so go
Go
ahead.
ahead, go ahead, anyways.
Well, President, in your hindsight of paying that little bit of extra money, students were safe. Security was there. She would have stated all that. Just work for it to take care of, but the feedback I got is that they were safe, there was security, and there was never an issue.
Thank you for
So
adding.
I think yes, it's very important that we add that, but. Money well spent is money well spent. Have your daughter or your son somewhere else in another state and see if you. Want to be worried about them, so just remember that at the end of the day, all thank you.
Thank you. And then expenditures for auxiliary. Okay, I just had this, 6 years ago, when we got on the board, I saw this deficit and I wondered how it continues. Shouldn't there be something where you need to rework or institute a business plan for that cafe so that we don't continue spending money? At least to stay within the budget. Understood, there may not be profit, but at least to be able to stay within the budget so that the paper plates and the napkins and the cups get paid for, the coffee, etc. within what they're making.
Thank you, Chair Martinez. That is absolutely, I agree with you that we have to look at that. And this is a deficit from when you came on the board many years ago. And so that is something that Dr. Romero and AVP Montoya have been looking at. We've been talking about at length, and we are planning on switching that model. So we are completely planning. That is not something that we have disclosed to the whole campus yet. But we are planning on switching that, and the bottom line is that we don't have the sales. We thought that we would have the sales if the students were on campus. We're not gonna have students on campus this coming year, so we're gonna have to switch some different things. And we're gonna have to make some hard decisions, and so what we proposed, which we said in the memo that Dr. Shields read, is that we are proposing closing the bookstore and only going to an online bookstore and only going to an online spirit store. And then we would
That
have
house spirit would be the
clothing. And then we would then still, I don't wanna not have any food on campus. I don't wanna not have that option there, so we need to look at that. But we have talked about doing that and then assigning staff that they're gonna have other duties. And so that we're not taking all of that.
At
So-
one point, the president, I don't remember which, had looked at the Commission for the Blind
Yes,
to do a food truck or at least
yeah, we have the Luna Strong program is going well, and so we've had conversations about how we're doing that. We have the 10 test, but there's people that wanna use some different things like that, and so that is something that is part of the corrective action plan. And so that is something that we've had some preliminary conversations with. We're gonna have to look at staff. It's not something we're gonna fix immediately, but that is the plan for this coming year.
so that we don't have to keep putting $100,000 deficit.
That is the plan. What, there's not enough traffic. We don't have.
But even with the traffic, if I sell 5 cups of coffee, I should be able to get only 5 cups used. The inventory should match. That's what a business should do. A business should stay within their budget. And technically, it's a business.
Well, and that's very true, and I think we're pretty much staying on target when it comes to the inventory. Where it comes in is the time for the personnel. That is where it really, your expense or your cost. And so with us trying to share the time for that individual that is being assigned now for the full, say for the full period, has to be divvied up so that we don't have to take that total hit. But as the president has alluded to, we have to change our marketing strategy. And that's one of the things that Luna has to continue to do, is we have to continue to evolve and make sure that we match the ongoing types of programs for what our customers are looking for us to be able to provide for them. Because the students are not going to stand by and just utilize maybe some of our previous marketing strategies of what was given out. So this is something that we will have to continue to work on, and if we do that, then fine, but that'll be a peak and valley until we get ourselves a good level.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I think, I share your concern with the bookstore, the negativity, in the numbers. Unfortunately, it's like the golf course, they're always in the red. Unfortunately, they never make money, and I think what Linda said is very good. I have to close it, and I'm agreeing with that. You can't keep running money out of that horse, it is what it is. You
Well,
have to make those decisive decisions, this is a business, it's not a charity. So, and thank you for that, President Linder, that at least you have. To be decisive to, and just look at that option, because in business, you have to be, and it affects people, right, it affects people, I mean. Jobs, everything, so, I mean, it is what it is, thank you.
Trustee Ortega?
Yeah, I have a question on that. Where is it exactly that the 122,000 is? Because here it's lumped into 3 different things. The cafe, the bookstore, and the cafeteria. So salaries were mentioned, how many people's salaries are we talking about? How much of it is inventory?
so right now, the largest, so I can give you, I have those numbers on the exhibit. for the auxiliary and looking at that, but right now, what we have is one person that's managing the bookstore. That's in the cafe, and his salary is split between the bookstore and the cafe. And so if I look at, let's look at 20 here.
Jake,
So it is, I mean, I have the full budget that you guys all don't have, we didn't print the whole thing with that. But if we look at overall revenues for the bookstore, we do have first day complete. But we get 7% of a commission on that, and so we're selling the books now by a credit hour and not by the book. And so what we're looking at in terms of sales and revenues for the bookstore in FY 27 is 150,000, but our expenditures are 130,000. So there's not a whole lot of.
But the expenditures that you're referring to are only the books or the inventory?
That's sales, so that also includes
In
current inventory that we have, and so we've got to manage that. We look at purchase for resale, we're looking at another $10,000 of revenue of the shirts that you're talking about.
or cups of coffee.
Or
So
that's the bookstore, and so the cafes, so cafeteria services, but the cafe. Is on here. Let's see if I can find the cafe.
while the president's looking for that, my previous, board reports, I shared with you the activity and what the total amount that the bookstore and the cafe was accumulating for the year and what. it was
Yeah,
at.
do you have that with you or no?
Was not.
So really for sales and services from the cafe, 2,600.
Yes.
And we call it the cafe, but on the budget, because it's the budget that we've had in there is listed as cafeteria, but that is the cafe. It's just the wording on what the historic budget was. And then we have dining services that will go if we do, when we get housing, those would go under dining services would be 6. So cleaning up those auxiliaries, I agree with Chair Martinez, I agree with Secretary Dominguez. This is a long-standing issue. This is something that we thought we had a plan actually. Going forward, if we go to have the housing approved, we had, I think, a really solid plan. That also involved repurposing staff and doing some different things. But I also have really dedicated staff that have given a lot of years to this institution. So something we have to look at.
So any other questions on the budget? Any other questions on the budget? Then I would like to entertain a motion. Let's see where that is. On page 2, on page 4, on the bottom. Motion to approve the revised F-27 Luna Community College operating budget with the understanding of minor technical adjustments may be made to comply with HED and EFA requirements for approval. Any significant changes will be communicated to Board Chair Dr. Martinez and Finance Chair Dominguez, who will determine whether special board meeting is required for reapproval. Motion and a second.
Second.
And a roll call?
Madam Chair, Dr. Phyllis Martinez.
Yes.
Madam Vice Chair, Luis Portillo.
Yes.
Secretary Mark Dominguez.
Yes.
Trustee Andrea Sandy. Yes. Trustee Richard Rico.
Yes.
Trustee Rolando Medrano.
Yes.
Trustee Rosalie Ortega.
Yes,
Motion passes. The second motion, approve the revised FY 26 unrestricted and restricted budget adjustment request as presented. With the understanding that minor technical adjustments may be made comply with NGB and EFA requirements for approval. Any significant changes will likewise be communicated to Board Chair Dr. Martinez and Finance Chair Dominguez, who will determine whether the special board meeting is warranted. Do I have a motion? And the second,
Second,
and roll call.
Madam Chair, Dr. Phyllis Martinez,
Yes.
Madam Vice Chair, Louise Portillo.
Yes.
Secretary, Mark Dominguez,
Yes.
trustee Andrea Sadi,
Yes.
trustee Richard Hill,
Yes.
trustee Rolando Medrano,
yes.
trustee Rosalie Ortega.
Yes.
And before I announce David's time, I just had a couple of questions on the most recent report you sent us. Did the bank comply with the request?
I'm not sure, Doctor, that was something I was gonna ask you about yesterday. Do you know if we got, do you know, Rosalie, did we get everything we needed from the bank on the CSV files?
Dr. was my person.
Thank you, Doctor.
That makes all the difference. Had it been one of those national banks, not a local bank, then we would have been up free.
Or he would have been on for a longer days.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate blind.
But that travel expense.
Exactly.
That's
So you don't want that.
The second question I had is, I just wanted to give you a thumbs up on that LCC supplemental report that you did. It was 14 pages. Thank you very much.
See after.
I think it answers a lot of questions for us going forward. Thank you. Then I would announce date and time location of next BOT meeting, which would be Tuesday, July 14th at 10 o'clock p.m. And a motion to adjourn.
I can make a motion with your then.
And a second.
Second.
Who's second? Trustee Bill?
That's right.
Okay. Roll call?
Madam Chair, Dr. Phyllis Martinez.
Yes.
Madam Vice Chair, Louise Portillo.
Yes.
Secretary, Mark Dominguez,
Yes.
trustee Andrea Sadi,
Yes.
trustee Richard Hill,
Yes.
trustee Rolando Medrano,
Yes.
trustee Rosalie Ortega.
Yes.
The committee, so we don't need that here home.